Hello, it's Adina here from the Immigrant Finance Podcast, talking today about how to invest with an ITIN for immigrants. So, if you don't know what an ITIN is, that stands for Individual Tax Identification Number. And this is an alternative type of number to identify yourself that you can get from the IRS, which is the agency in the US where you pay taxes. And it's an alternative number if you don't qualify to have what's called a social security number, which is the most common identification purposes. Some immigrants don't qualify for social security numbers, but can instead get that ITIN number. And that's how there's millions of immigrants who are paying taxes, even if they're undocumented. If you want more information about how to apply for an ITIN number, if you don't have one, go ahead to our website, immigrantfinance.com/ITIN, and you can read more about it. It really is the key to be investing if you don't have a social security number. We'll be talking about that today more in detail. I'll just go ahead and mention too in the beginning that if you've been trying to invest, if you've been trying to figure it out and your application's been rejected, even if you have an ITIN number and you can't get past those immigration law questions coming up, or you can't figure it out, maybe you're the first in your family to be investing, then please do reach out. That's exactly what we're here to support people with. And our main way of helping is through our signature wealth building coaching for immigrant families, wealth building coaching program called Immigrant Finance School. You can apply for that over at immigrantfinanceschool.com. So now let's go into some key ways how you can start to think about investing and preparing to invest, as well as having a plan for investing as an immigrant if you're using an ITIN. Now, let's first talk about the first thing is your rights. So you have a right to invest. You have a right to be an investor. You have a right to own stocks and own companies in the US financial markets, in the stock market. You have a right to be growing your money and not having it just sit in cash or sit in a bank account. You have rights no matter what your status is. And just to give you a little background, why I can say that so confidently and hopefully reassure you if that's something that you haven't been sure about or that you've been told you can't do, is because of my experience, both my professional and personal experience. So, professionally, I am an immigration attorney, and I have spent the past 10 years studying the intersection of the immigration law system and the financial system. How did I get into that? Why is an immigration attorney like me researching finances? Well, that's where I come to my personal experience. My husband, Mauricio, is an immigrant from Ecuador. And so when he came to the US, we struggled a lot with finances for many years, and we didn't know what he could do and not do, based on his status, based on fears about losing his status. He was in a very temporary situation for many years. So we didn't know what to do, and no one could tell us. No financial advisors could tell us what his options were. None of my immigration law professors at Georgetown Law could tell me what immigrants could do in the financial system, and there were no podcast, blogs, or websites or books on this topic. So we had a calling to figure out those answers and provide that information for people, and that's what led us to start Immigrant Finance. So that's why we've spent the past 10 years in that process, really researching, really digging, really talking to experts and piecing it together to find those answers. And we've been able to help over 100 immigrant families start investing for the first time through the knowledge we've built and the guidance we've built, particularly through Immigrant Finance School. So it's knowing that you can do it is the first step. I would say the hardest part with finances, the hardest part with starting a business, the hardest part with finding your purpose, all of these things is the mindset piece of like claiming your power and finding the right information, finding the right guidance, but also deciding that I'm going to find a way. I'm going to do this. And there's this woman, Adina from Immigrant Finance, who's telling me I can invest. So, and that there's been over 100 people that Immigrant Finance has helped do it. So that must mean there's a way for me. and to choose not to give up. If you reach a barrier, if you're having an issue with getting your ITIN or renewing your ITIN or getting your ITIN to go through on the investment application, to know there's always a way and to not give up, because it is possible. It doesn't matter what your immigration status is. You can be undocumented, you could have DACA, you could, have an order of supervision, you could have TPS, you could have a green card, you could be a US citizen child of immigrants. We work with all kinds of immigrants and family members of immigrants to know no matter what your situation is, you have rights to be an investor in the US. It's not about your immigration status, whether you can invest. It's a separate system in the financial system. There are immigration law aspects. That's where we get into the ITIN and all of that. If you don't have a social security number, there are some immigration law questions. That's what we can help out with. But the main point is you can do this, and to start changing your thinking, changing your perspective from being about, this is something that's really hard for me, or that I can't do, or that I'm never gonna be able to do, or that, maybe I have my account open, but I'm never gonna be able to understand investing. To switch your perspective from that to, I have rights to do this, and this is something I can do. So that's the first and probably most important step of becoming an investor in the US if you're an immigrant, is really making that decision that you can do it and it's your right and you deserve to be equal among all other investors. There's nothing about you that should make you less equal just because you might have a different immigrant status, or just because you might be part of an immigrant family and you don't have anyone who's done this before in your family. You can do this. There's guidance out there. There's a ton of free resources. There's a ton of courses. There's a ton of coaching programs, right, that can help give you this guidance if you're having trouble figuring it out. The second piece is, I want to dig a little deeper into what I just started talking about, how believing that you can be an investor too, and that concept of equality, right? That there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do this. All of the challenges when it comes to being an immigrant with investing, logistically, are really about getting the application open. Once you have the application open, there is nothing different about you than any other investor, except that maybe you didn't have generations before you that were already investing, and that you have to be the one to become the leader in your family and learn it. But if you're willing to do that, the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. If you look up any investment calculator and play around, you can see that just by, investing a small amount every month, right? If you don't have a lot of money, you can start with $50 a month, $20 a month, even $1 a month you can start with. You don't need to wait until you have thousands of dollars to invest. You can start and you can put yourself in a position where your money starts working for you. And when we are changing the dynamic that the only way for you to make income is to trade time for money, to go to a job, to work multiple jobs. We want to move to a situation where, yes, we may have to work, but also our money can grow for us. Our money can grow while we're sleeping, while we're with our family, while we're on vacation. That's what passive income is. It's when your money's doing the work for you. And that is really the core of what investing is about. And that applies to all kinds of investing, by the way. So there's investing in the stock market, which I'm primarily talking about today, but there's also investing in a business you start, in other people's businesses, in real estate, in yourself and your education. There are really important ways of investing that we talk about throughout this podcast, that we talk about throughout Immigrant Finance School, where you can put yourself in that position where you can start having your money work for you, and you can become an investor, and you can put yourself in a position where there's no reason why you have to be less equal than someone else. Now, I know you may be thinking, okay, why are you talking about equality? Like, the immigration laws are racist and violent and hateful, and I don't have status, and there's no prospect for me to ever have status in the future. If that's going on for you, absolutely, that obviously is a major barrier to equality. But I want to push you to think about the tools you have through finance and through business and through claiming your power to put yourself again in positions and put your money in positions where that starts to become less relevant. Because you know what? With investing in the stock market, it doesn't matter what your immigration status is. You can do that. With starting a business, it doesn't matter what your immigration status is. You can do that. All of the laws limiting who can have a work permit, who can have immigration status, are really about being an employee, right? They're not about having a business. There's no federal law saying that you can't have a business because you're undocumented or because you don't have status or because you might lose your status. So if this is all true, then why can't you pursue equality for yourself? Why can't you put yourself in a position where you are equal to others who are pursuing those things, right? A lot of it is about mindset and changing your mindset. And that's what I love, love, love working with people on, and helping them see what's possible, but also the strategy and the action to go implement it and make it happen, right? So it's about believing you can be an investor too, and that you deserve equality, and that there are ways for you to pursue and obtain equality no matter what your status is, no matter what the immigration laws are and what they say. The third piece is about understanding the psychology and mindset of investing. This is especially true if you're the first in your family to be investing and you didn't get to grow up hearing about how investing works and what are the normal cycles of investing. So, big picture, really quick mini investing lesson I can give, to get more of this, come join us in Immigrant Finance School. But big picture is that the stock market and investing is a cycle. Just like the seasons change, right? Just like the ocean waves come and go with the tide and the moon cycles, it's a cycle and it goes up and down. And that's part of the game, and it's normal and it's expected. So if you understand that, then you don't have to freak out when the stock market goes down, because most people who are investing don't get that. And when the normal crashes happen or the normal up and downs happen, they freak out and they get really nervous and they get really emotional, and then they deviate from their investing plan. And when you stop following your plan, that's when you stop making money with your investing. In order to be growing your money over time, building wealth, right, in the long game here, through investing in the stock market, you have to understand those flows, and you have to understand the psychology of that it's normal and expected, so that your emotions don't take over and that you can stick to the plan. It's all about consistency. It's actually really simple. If you can just, have that mindset to get what's going on and know how the system works, that you can ride those ups and downs and see that over the long term, it's always going up. If you zoom in the short term, yes, there are dips. Yes, it goes down sometime, right? At the time of this recording, the stock market's down right now. A lot of people are freaking out. But investors who understand this, confident investors, they're not scared at all because they know this is normal. In fact, they're like, this is a good time to go buy stocks because they're on sale right now. They always goes back up and they're going to go up in value. So this is a great opportunity, right? So it's a really, really different way of thinking. And it comes down to getting very familiar with and starting to overcome some of your scarcity thoughts. So scarcity thoughts are those thoughts and beliefs that have been drilled into our brains, into our subconscious, from our families, from society since we were children, that are telling us, that there's never enough, that something bad's going to happen, that I have to hold on really tight, right? That's not actually how money and abundance work. That's not actually how the flow of money works, right? That's coming from a place of fear. And to tap into that growth and that flow and that abundance of money, it's the opposite way of thinking. And so that applies to everything in your life, from your health to your relationships, right, to your self-worth, everything. But it also applies to your investing. So it's building wealth and learning about finances, especially personal finance, is such a personal journey. And it's such a journey of learning the true meaning of life and all of these, deep things, because it's about letting go of some of that fear and stepping into expansion and abundance. And with investing in the stock market, that shows up in the sense of trust that I know even in the short term, if the stock market's down and I might be scared or everyone around me might be scared and freaking out, that I know in the long run, there's constant growth and expansion. If you look at the universe, right, the universe is constantly expanding. Um, just there's endless energy that is expanding infinitely. And it's the same thing with money, it's the same thing with investing. And so when you look at statistically over the past 100 years, we see this play out as true in the stock market, because we see that over the past 100 years, when you zoom out in the long term, the average rate of return, which is how money grows in the stock market, is between 7 to 12%, which is super high. You're never going to get anywhere close to that with bank accounts, with bonds, with any of that, right? 7 to 12% is super high, and that's on average. So that's looking at both all the ups and the downs, and looking at the average that we know on average every year for 100 years is between 7 to 12%. So when you get that, the short term of, oh, the stock market's down right now, becomes less scary because you're looking at the bigger picture. So that's the third piece of becoming an investor, understanding that piece. And that has nothing to do with immigration law or your ITIN or your status, but it has everything to do with, because getting the account open is just the first step. There's so much more to that, right? All right, now let's talk about the fourth piece of investing, and how to become a confident, successful investor. So this is a bit more on the spiritual side, which, by the way, I'm going to be talking about this kind of stuff more on the podcast. So if you like hearing about this kind of woo-woo spiritual stuff, please let me know. I love to hear your feedback. It's always great to connect with you all. You can just shoot us a quick message on Instagram is the easiest way, at immigrant.finance. Let us know if you're vibing with this and if you want to hear more. So the fourth piece is about finding your purpose. And you might be like, why is this lady talking about purpose in a podcast episode about investing for immigrants? Right. Well, I will respond and tell you that, after several years of doing this now, it's been about 5 years that we've been doing immigrant finance. I have worked with a lot of people, I've helped a lot of people, and I have also gone on my own journey personally and with my husband, who's an immigrant. And I have done a lot of coaching myself so that I can grow and expand and grow immigrant finance and grow as a person. And it's pretty clear to me now, after all of that, that everything comes back to this. Everything comes back to finding our purpose and realizing our purpose. And that when you do that, money follows, because money is just made up. Okay. If you look back in human history and the history of money, the first forms of money were like seashells that humans were trading just to make trade easier, right? Instead of having to like bring all the flour and then exchange it with all the salt, right? And travel over miles and miles on horseback and camels and whatever, and bring it all at the same place, they could start to trade more easily through something like seashells, which was just a concept to, give a concept to trade, right? That's how money started. And that I love reminding myself of that, and our students of that, because it just highlights that this is all made up, and that money is just a symbol of value, and it's just a way to exchange value, and therefore exchange energy. And so what is the best way to have a smooth, seamless flow of energy and value? It's to be coming from your purpose. So when you do the inner work, when you get in touch with, who you really are and why you're here and what you're meant to do, because I strongly believe we're all here for a purpose. We're all here, for a reason. And it's usually to help others. And it's usually to help others based on our own life experience and what we struggled with ourselves and learned, and the lessons we've learned, and how we can light up the world with those and help others with going through that. money follows from that. And so, why am I again talking about this on an investing podcast? Because this is going to be the best way for you to have money to invest. Okay. So, we've talked about opening the account, using the ITIN to open the account if you don't have status. We talked about how it's not just opening the account, it's also understanding um, the psychology and the mindset of investing and the big picture and the long term instead of the short term dips and fears and scarcity, right? But then we also need money to put into that flow. So we've got that account open, we understand how it works. You're still not investing if you're not putting money into that account. So the hardest part of investing, I always tell people, is actually not learning how to invest, not opening the account. It's having money every month to put into your investment account so that you can participate in that flow, in that constant growth and evolution and expansion that takes place in the stock market, and ride that wave. Now, how do you have money every month? Well, you can certainly budget, you can certainly reduce your spending and find money that way. That's usually the first step. That's what we work on first with our students in immigrant finance school, with goal driven budgeting and managing money. It's incredibly important. And I really think it's important to learn how to do that before you increase income, because then you know how to manage it, right? But there's always going to be a limit if you're doing just that. There's always going to be a limit of how much total money you have in your budget you're working with if you don't focus on increasing income. And so, yeah, you might be able to reduce some spending and maybe negotiate down your phone bill and cut your cable and eat more rice and beans and whatever. But what is that going to do? Free up a couple $100, maybe 1,000, right? We've definitely had students who've been able to free up an extra $1,000 every month doing those things, right? But there's still that limit. There's still that limit. We want to get to a place where there's infinite expansion. That's how you build wealth. That's how you become a powerful investor, right? That's how it doesn't matter what the immigration laws are for you, where you can have no limit on your potential. And so, how do you do that? You find your purpose. And that's hard work. That's really hard work. It takes a lot of inner work, it takes a lot of commitment. That is my favorite thing to do to help people with when it comes to the financial and business coaching I do. So if you're up for that, if you're ready for that, um, please do reach out. Please join us in Immigrant Finance School. You can apply at immigrantfinanceschool.com. That's what we really focus on there. We cover all the strategy. We get your investment accounts open. We teach you to find that money in your budget, right? But really, it's about, again, putting yourself in a position where you can have constant growth and expansion. And that comes down to the mindset. It comes down to finding your purpose and creating something from that and increasing income that way, whether it's starting a business or getting more in alignment with what you're really meant to do and having a job that reflects that, whether it's becoming a crazy, super amazing investor and really focusing on that and having your money flow that way. There's so many ways, whether it's real estate, there are so many ways this expansion can look like, and it's going to be different for everyone, but the point is tapping into that, and that really comes down again to finding your purpose, and then the money will follow. So this is how you become a confident investor, whether you're using an ITIN or not, it doesn't matter. This is the kind of pathway and secrets and recipe for wealth that families that have generations of wealth have followed. And this is certainly the direction we're going in this new age, with everything that's happened with the COVID pandemic and the digital revolution and all of the opportunities there are. This is the way the world is moving, where you're seeing more and more people understand and realize they have to get in alignment with their purpose, and then they are abundantly supported. Then the money flows. Then it's not about the money. Then it's about just fulfilling your mission and fulfilling your purpose. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was inspiring. Um, if we were able to touch you today, if I was able to make any impact or inspire you in any way or make your day a little bit better, would be so, so grateful. If you shoot us a review over on Apple Podcasts, it would mean so, so much. And if you do that, please take a picture of the review and send it over to us on Instagram at immigrant.finance. and we will give you a price. And I can let you know what that is once you send it over. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of the day, and I will see you in the next episode.